Afternoon or morning, wherever you happen to be, West Coast, East Coast, in the middle like me. This is Tony Luce with Network Optics, and we're here with Cyberlink to learn more about their FaceMe AI facial recognition software and how it works with an X. And I'm here today with Richard and Craig from Cyberlink, and Richard is going to be our presenter today. So I'm going to hand it over to Richard. And Richard, feel free to introduce yourself and your technology.
Wonderful, thanks, Tony. So hi, I'm Richard Kaya. I'm SVP and General Manager at Cyberlink. I run our global marketing as well as our business for the Americas. So yeah, I'll present to you a little bit about Cyberlink, FaceMe, and most important, that partnership we have with NX to create an amazing solution for business security. So briefly about Cyberlink, the name might not be familiar, but our products, what we do is familiar. You might have known us if you've used a Windows PC in your life. You've used our software, whether to play back video with Power DVD or edit your videos and photos with Power Director, Photo Director, and others. So this is where we come from. So very many years of digital media technology. Over the last few years, we started embedding more and more of AI-based augmented reality and these kinds of technologies in our software. So in the process, we developed probably what is arguably today the best algorithm for facial recognition that people can commercialize, and it's called FaceMe. So what is FaceMe? Essentially, it is a complete solution for facial recognition, whether it is used as an SDK, which is a solution that you can embed across different platforms, or as some specific software we develop for security as well as health and safety solutions. So FaceMe is extremely accurate. It offers an accuracy rate of 99.7%. According to NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, we're literally the most accurate platform. If you take out a handful of solutions coming from a country, namely China, where commercialization outside of the home market is not really possible. And so that's where we're from. FaceMe, unlike some solutions you might have heard of from some of the big names in the industry, is all edge-based, which means it's extremely safe, extremely fast. You don't even need a cloud connection if you don't want to. It can be running entirely on the edge device or connected to a local network. So it provides the speed, the security of not moving photos around. Our SDK runs across all relevant platforms, so Windows, iOS, Android, as well as 7 or 8 flavors of Linux. So it can be integrated literally on any solution, whether it's IoT devices, workstations, legacy systems, PC if you're a smaller organization. So it allows for a huge amount of flexibility. The features that you would expect from facial recognition, so top left, face detection. Can it detect if there's a face or many faces in front of a camera? Then recognition, assuming there's a database with a template that has the key vectors to allow recognition of some individuals. So you have that template in the database, so it will recognize in a few milliseconds the person who's in front of the camera, as I mentioned earlier, with very high level of precision. It can also measure face attributes, which might not be directly relevant in the solution we're presenting today, but other cases, we can collect statistics or identify for personalized experiences the age, gender, and the mood, the emotions of somebody. Are they happy, upset, neutral, sad? And based on that, it opens the door to multiple use cases. If we go to the lower line, we have some unique technologies that set us aside. For image pre-processing, we have a series of patented technologies that help improve lighting, precision. If the quality of the camera feed is not good enough, it can upscale resolution. All that, what it does, it increases the precision of our facial recognition. Also takes away a lot of the bias that's been in the news. Like, for example, if lighting is poor, someone who has darker skin complexion could be misidentified with other solutions. or in a very bright light, somebody who has fair complexion might also be misidentified. So with our technology, we can resolve most of it. We also offer anti-spoofing. So depending if you're using a regular 2D camera, could be a webcam, or a more sophisticated 3D laser camera, both cases we can make sure that spoofing is prevented. Somebody cannot just show a picture or even a video of the person they're trying to spoof. It's not going to work. And finally, we developed very good solution around masks. So if somebody is wearing a mask, facial recognition is still possible with a level of precision of over 95%. It doesn't mean that 5% of the time it will recognize somebody who's not the right person. It means just like when you use your smartphone, you might have to attempt a second time with these unique cases. And it's like 95% 1 of 20 attempt, which is about as high as it gets in the industry. But also what it can do, and we'll talk about that later, it can also identify if somebody who should be wearing a mask, especially now during the pandemic, if they are wearing a mask properly over their nose and mouth, otherwise it can send alerts. So enough about the features. Let me talk about, jump right into the topic. So the software that's integrated with the NX VMS system is FaceMe Security. I mentioned earlier, we have our SDK that can be integrated into any software solutions, but this FaceMe Security is an actual software that stands alone. All you have to do is install it on workstations. And as I see here on this slide, it can run instantly. So you connect IP cameras to workstations, and in a very scalable way, a workstation can easily support a lot of camera feeds concurrently, and I'll touch that in a moment. And here you go. The software lets you monitor door security, perimeter security. You can monitor access. You can record staff time and attendance, so for time clock. And it can also identify individually visitors, employees, blacklisted individuals. In addition, when you have a plugin to identify if somebody has elevated body temperature or if they're wearing a mask. So it all does that at the edge, the workstation, and then connecting into an on-premise server where you have the database, where you have the enrollment and others. One added feature of FaceMe Security is whenever you have alerts, so somebody, a visitor that you're expecting is coming, or there's a blacklisted person, or somebody who's not wearing their mask, so a message should be sent to security, these instant notifications can be sent to the smart device of the individual. Let me show you a quick video that introduces how this thing works. So FaceMe Security will show you a couple of use cases. First, when you have a VIP person coming, it would be the same for a blacklisted person, but let's go for the VIP. So here we have Michael, who is a VIP entering the office. The camera is capturing him, and you can see on the top left that he's been identified as a VIP. An alert is sent to a smartphone saying, "Oh, your VIP has just arrived. He is at that location, so please come and greet him." The other example I will show is for employee time clock. So somebody here, Emily, walks in. It says the number of visits, the time she's been in, and that's it. So FaceMe Security is that simple. It integrates to your existing cameras, IP cameras, and measures, collect the information. So some of the things it does, it can monitor perimeter and on-premise people. So whenever there's somebody, it does facial recognition, it can control access, visitor management. It creates a history in the database in addition to sending instant notification. And there's a series of APIs that can connect into systems like NX, as we'll show in a moment. This thing is also highly optimized. So I was saying this is how much, like with one workstation, if you take like a Tesla T4, in a very busy area where you have over 500 people per hour, you can connect up to 22 channels, 22 cameras to measure 11,000 people per hour and identify them. If you have like lower traffic, let's say 250 people per hour, then you can have up to 55 cameras connected to one workstation, to give you an idea. So it's very cost efficient when it comes to the hardware. The key features of FaceMe.
Sorry to interrupt. I had a question about that last slide.
Yes.
The quantities there. I mean, the streams. Is this based off a certain resolution and frame rate for the stream that's coming in?
Yeah, Craig, you might be able to answer that question more details. Craig is our head of sales engineering. So please go ahead.
Right, so the resolution doesn't have any impact on the number of people. It does impact how many people we can detect and how quickly, because we need to detect at least 80 pixels between the eyes to identify who you are. So with that, we can have the impact of 510 versus 250 will impact the performance.
So the resolution depends on the number of faces you can detect based off pixel density required to detect and accurately identify a face.
Right. So if you had a 720p resolution, the people in the video would have to be closer to the camera versus further away to be identified. So they'd be detected sooner with the 1080p than the 720p video stream.
But in terms of like, if somebody's planning a project and they have like specific throughput requirements and everything like that, you guys would work with them to figure out like, this is the number of channels that you'd want to do based off the setup you have for the cameras and what the distance is and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay, sure. Okay, so some of the key features, I touched on several of them already, but just to be systematic, so it can detect faces and recognize people. It can detect if somebody is not wearing a mask properly over their mouth and nose, so send an alert, or if somebody has elevated body temperature. And it can personalize the alert, so it can go to somebody responsible for health and safety in the case of masks and elevated body temperature, versus sending a personalized email message to somebody if they're expecting a visitor, or security if it's somebody who's blacklisted. We have full hardware acceleration, so what we were talking about for the number of channels all depends on the type of GPU you have and the optimization work we've done. That's all at the edge of the workstation. Then when you go to the security central module, which is the console, this is where you can manage who is in the database, control the different cameras that are connected, their configuration, and you can have access to all the history. And finally, the APIs. So we have event notification that will show how it's integrated with NX. You have an API to facilitate enrollment, so be able to upload in batches, for example, all the pictures of your employees, and so on. So that's the different features that we have for the API. Health screening, I mentioned, is a big deal. So not only will it detect if somebody is wearing a mask or not, but it will also make sure that it's a real mask, so somebody cannot put their hand in front of their face or just add a scarf. It will also make sure that they're wearing it properly, otherwise it will send an alert. I mentioned facial recognition when people are wearing a mask, so also very accurate. So nowadays it's critical. And the way it works, basically, people are asking how come when half the face is covered, you can still have high level of precision. Is because there's tons of unique vectors still around the nose bridge and the eyes. So as long as somebody is not wearing a mask, let's say very dark sunglasses, we can perform facial recognition. And finally, elevated body temperature. As long as you connect a thermal camera, and we have a series of cameras that work well with the solution, then you can also automate that, and same thing, connect to the identity of the person who might potentially have fever. Solution can connect into access control, time clock, and visitor check-in systems. So if you already have in a company some of these systems, chances are that can connect it. So you have contactless authentication, you can have automatic door unlock for the right people, and you can also make sure you secure the different areas. So if there are areas where somebody should not be, or if there should be a record kept, where they are. Let's say in a warehouse environment, somebody walks into the freezer section, they go in. If after half an hour they did not come out, you might want to check, make sure they're not freezing to death. So that's some of the things that can also all be integrated. And also, as I mentioned, we have through another Cyberlink solution called U-Messenger. You can have instant messages sent to smartphones and mobile devices in each case that requires an action, whether it's unauthorized access, VIP or vendor who is here, somebody who's not complying with mask or temperature. Okay, now let's talk about the exciting part, how NX connects into FaceMe Security. And this is where you have the VMS, so all the powered by NX products can have real-time detection notification, just as mentioned earlier for FaceMe Security. So now the architecture is pretty simple. As I mentioned, we have these APIs. So what you're seeing in this slide is more or less the structure, the architecture I was showing you on the edge on the left with the cameras, the workstations, FaceMe Central, everything is the same, except that now you connect from FaceMe Central from the server through a plugin, you connecting to the powered by NX products. That simple. So on that, we'll play a little video and I will let Tony explain how this thing works.
Yeah. So guys, it works just like any metadata SDK integrated system. You're going to install a plugin on the NX Witness server. You're going to define your VIP and your block lists in FaceMe and the things that you want to occur, right? When that face is detected, that triggers a specific rule that you've set up in the rules engine. You're going to be able to then trigger event actions based off of that rule. So I think.
Hold on, I think I'm
the wrong video. That's
no, there we go. Isn't it?
That's all right. There's a really nice video on YouTube by Cyberlink with FaceMe that shows you the step-by-step process.
Let me go to the right one.
That's all right.
I had the right one earlier. That's what happens when we work without a safety net. Okay, I'll go real quick. This one. Sorry for the viewers, but
oh, it's all right. And guys, like always, you can ask questions in the question and answers or chat section, and we'll be happy to answer them throughout the presentation.
This thing should work now. Okay,
there you go.
There we go. I'll go full screen.
There you go.
Okay, is it? Yeah, it is. Perfect. Here we go.
Problem. So you can see it working just like our standard any third-party kind of face recognition engine. You're logging in here, Craig, and correct me if I'm wrong, to the web-based interface for managing FaceMe, right? You're putting in the address of the NX Witness VMS server. You've installed the plugin. You got to connect with your credentials. You can see the plugin has been detected and connected to, right? And now you can go in and look at each one of your different camera streams. Retrieve the cameras from it, and then choose which ones the FaceMe security application is going to apply to, right? And then once you've done that, any of the cameras that are now being sent to Cyberlink are going to start returning objects and faces and the associated metadata, right? So you can see here they've got the groups, the mask type. I'm guessing they'll also send the identity of the person or any of the additional fields that you would like to see inside of our software, right? Once those metadata tags are captured, they're stored in an object metadata database right next to the video, and you can see on the timeline there, all the yellow, that's where those objects have been detected, right? So just like our standard kind of object interface, now that you've got that information, you can use our rules engine to really create any sort of automations that you want in the system based off of that, including like sending an additional trigger to an additional system, right? So hands-free access control is a perfect application of this, right? or dual factor authentication or dual factor access control where you need face plus card or face plus credential to get in, right? You have VIP management, gyms. Like I think there's a gym in Taiwan that uses this right now, potentially, unless I'm confusing it. But basically, anything where you need to match identity to some other action, right? You're able to do that once you've implemented the plugin and you've implemented FaceMe. So it's pretty powerful stuff, guys.
Okay.
So Craig,
Thanks.
you wanted to go into
Yeah, Craig.
Richard, back to you.
Here's a demo. Go ahead, Craig.
All right, yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk to this demo that we're going to show here, how FaceMe Security can properly integrate with NX Witness, right? So we're going to show you how we can send out advanced alerts from anyone walking by a camera without a mask on, or say a VIP or an employee arrives for the day, as you saw on that screen. You can send notifications to HR or to security. Any one of those notifications, or even maybe someone on a block list shows up, so you can send out notifications to the people who need to know who should not be in the area. And last, of course, if you have a thermal camera connected, we can get the thermal readings off for someone, and when their body temperature is above a certain threshold, send out those alerts. So here you can see NX Witness. Most of you should be familiar with it. I got 2 Axis cameras connected to it currently. The first one's already plugged in and connected, so we got our FaceMe plugin there already set up. You can see the IP addresses that were configured for the FaceMe database. And then, of course, there's the rules that you have to have included in there as well. So let's go ahead and show you how that's done for another camera. So the 1364, I'm going to go in there and first enable the plugin for FaceMe. I click it and click Apply. And then, of course, go to the recording. You have to arrange the recording, because if you don't do this, you'll still get the event, but you won't get the recording with the event. So you need to make sure you mark that as well. Once we apply that, we then need to go into the rules and create a rule for this. So then the rules, we'll add a new rule, and in there we set an event, analytics event, and then we go and select the camera that we want it to work with, the 1364. And then last, we go and select the event, FaceMe event, and hit apply. And that's it. You're configured. You're ready to go. You do that for each and every camera you need to work with, and now you can set up your rules that you normally set up in NX for those events when they occur, who needs to be notified, when they need to be notified. All right? So all that will be quickly information there. You can see the plugin, the post, check import, all that's information you use for setting up FaceMe Security. And then we go into launch FaceMe Security. You can see currently I don't have anyone in the database. This is a fresh start for FaceMe Security, so there's no history either. Under settings, I want to make sure I want to enable the visit count as well as alerts for VIPs that come in. All right, and then we go to pandemic control and we set up mask notifications, so anyone without a mask. And of course, we got VIP, blocklisted people, and employees already selected for notifications going out to VMS. So now we want to create a database. I don't have anyone in there for VIP or employee, so I'll add myself for blocklist as a new person. You only need 1 image. We recommend maximum of 5. You know, the left profile, right profile, up, down, and then the straight on shot. So we get every angle that you could possibly come into the camera at, right? We have information you can put in there, name, company, email, notes, all that will be sent to as metadata. I just put in my basic information here, Craig Campbell. So once you've set that in, I'm then registered in the database, which you'll see here. I was added successfully, but there's no events yet. No one's arrived because I haven't turned on any cameras yet. So next we want to go to the VMS part and make sure that we have all the cameras selected. You can see the VMS server is already set up. We got the IP address. So under cameras, we just automatically retrieve from there. It's already configured. I don't have to do anything. It's done all in VMS and NX Witness. So now I just have to turn on one of these cameras, and as soon as I turn it on, you'll see that it will show up green in the bottom where it detects me and also show up in the top left. So you get a flash of green showing here in a few seconds for that window. Oh, I didn't turn it on yet. Let me turn it on. Okay, so once I turn it on, you can see the flash of green will show up, and I'll show up in the top left window there. And there I am, and there's the flash of green and the event that came up with it. And all the metadata that is associated with that will also show up. As you can see, the access camera, FaceMe event, date, time, my name, entered the area, right? So I'll turn that camera off. and turn on the other camera, which is to the side of me. Or actually, this one's going to be in front of me. The first one was to the side of me. So that was the first camera. You can see now the front in front of me was triggered, and another event went out, and you can see the two cameras, different models that were capturing me. Both of them had no mask on, and so that was the event for that occurrence. All right, and then the last one I want to show you is actually going to be, okay, we're going to go to the events and show you the events that have been recorded. These are previous ones that were in there from previous recordings. So again, if you select the recording option in there, you get the recordings along with the event. Now next, I'm going to do one with the mask on, so you can show that it will identify me even when I put a mask on. So you can see me putting a mask on in the bottom right corner there. I go back to the camera that I want to enable, make sure the video stream is there, and then I'll turn it on in FaceMe Security. As soon as I turn on and go to the history, it will show up and you see a flash. So 3 visits show, I get a flash, and now even with the mask, I go to current events, you can see that it tagged me even with the mask on, Craig Campbell. So even with the mask, it was able to identify who I was. So all these events can be sent in there and sent notifications. And as Tony says, you can manage all those events from NX Witness.
And you can customize all the actions that are associated, right? You get that metadata in there and you can filter based off of the metadata. So if I wanted to set up a special event only for Craig to definitely lock the door so Craig can't get in, I could do it, right?
Yeah, they always do that to me.
Right? I want to make sure that Richard definitely can get in. I can make sure Richard can get in, Craig can't, right? Even if they're wearing masks or not, right? So like that's the power of these solutions with that metadata coming in. Now, one of the questions came in from Joe, said, where do you store the face database, right? So I'll answer the first part of it, right? Joe, the metadata that's shared with a Powered by NX product like NX Witness is stored in a special object database that's created, that sits right next to the VMS, and you as the integrator, you get to determine which hard drive or which storage area you're going to store that object database on when you implement the plugin. So when you start the server, on our server, when you go to server settings, storage management, you can see there's stores analytics database. So that's where we store the metadata that's coming in from plugins. Okay. So for FaceMe, I'll let Craig answer that.
For FaceMe Security, yeah, during setup, you actually install Microsoft SQL. So when you install that up, you determine where that database is. Normally, like in my case, I installed it on that server, and you would do the same thing, the same server that you have NX Witness on and FaceMe, or they can be different servers if you want. You get to decide where you want to store that. And we have no access to that database. That's all fully controlled by you.
It's local, right? Unless you decide to put it in a cloud place for some reason.
Right.
Right.
And of course, everything's encrypted.
Cool. I think we answered that question. I think we're on the question and answer section, Richard. I mean, you got rid of the presentation, so that's pretty much where we're at now, right?
That's it. We're right into the Q&A.
Yeah. So we did that pretty quickly, guys. We're only like 30 minutes in here, so we got plenty of time for questions and answers. If you want to know anything about FaceRec or about our solution and how it integrates with the face recognition solutions, fire away.
Yeah, the integration is very simple. That was very smooth. I mean, once I got FaceMe installed in NX, it was one click of the button. I mean, especially you've got all those cameras. I like that. Normally, I've got to configure each camera individually, and this is like one click.
I have a question. Those fields that you show for individuals, are they customizable in the web-based interface?
So currently, we have some basic data fields in there. Additional fields can be added when needed, but right now we just got the basic, contact, notes, and job titles.
Okay. One question did come in. How is a FaceMe Security license? Is it a one-time fee, annual fee? Is there a max number of cameras that you can put in one system?
Yeah. So yeah, I can answer that. We're very flexible when it comes to the model. We try to match basically the business model of the VAR, the reseller, whoever, with their customer. So typically by default, we will sell an annual license, but we also have cases where it's a perpetual license. We can have it based on the number of cameras. We can have it based on the the number of workstations it's installed on. So I would say this is something we can work with the VARs, develop the right pricing model for the customers.
Do you guys do, you mentioned GPU acceleration. Do you do CPU based at all?
We do, and we also use VPU. So if you have Intel's, like I said, like Mustang 100 or any of those VPU cards, we can use that for acceleration as well. So if you don't have any slots, you can plug in a VPU to a USB drive and expand your processing power that way as well.
Oh, so with like the Movidius compute stick, is that right? I got one of those. I got to try it. All right, cool. We're gonna have to try that then with your solution. I've been waiting to find something I can use with that thing. Now I know I've got one.
Yeah, we do quite constantly. We optimize our solutions with the products from key chipset manufacturers. So anything from Intel or from NVIDIA, for example, we make sure that our solutions are highly optimized.
For temperature sensing, do you guys establish a baseline temperature for everybody, or is it more based off of like the individual, or how does that work?
So in there, you can set a baseline of the temperature, like for a room, like you already know what the temperature of the room is, so you can maybe change that, or maybe the outside is a little hotter and you know people are coming in. So you can say, you know what, I'm looking for a temperature that's say in 37 degrees or 38 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, whatever it is. And anyone who comes and measured, and we're measuring, basically we're identifying your face, then we're identifying where your eyes are, and we're measuring a dot right above between them. Okay. And so based on that temperature reading, if it's above your threshold setting, then we'll send out an alert. That doesn't mean that they're infected or they've got a fever, just someone that you should be aware of.
Is there a limit to like which thermal cameras you support? Like are there specific models?
Currently we do hike vision models, and there's a few other models we're working on to look at supporting. We support FLIR as well. We're looking for accuracy on that. So we're looking to add to that group as we go.
Okay. Do you require black box at all for the thermal cameras?
Nope. Currently with the cameras that we're working with, none of them are requiring a black box, and we're trying to avoid that type of solution. But if you have a solution that requires that, we can work with cameras that are of that nature as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very flexible, like whether depending on the setup you have, it can be one individual at a time, like at an entrance, or also in a shared space, as long as you have enough, like we were saying, how many faces, like we can identify people and measure masks and body temperature for a group of people. So as they walk by in a busy hall, the entrance of an office building, for example, we can identify right away who is not complying and send individualized alerts so that these people can be retrieved.
Makes sense. It's, they asked for contact tracing. This is from Scott. If you have a positive person for COVID, can you search cameras for all locations that the person has been and be able to identify if anyone was not wearing a mask? So basically, they're looking at contact tracing, right?
Yeah. So we work with any kind of video, photo. So a video stream works, or an MPEG-4 file will work. So it doesn't have to be a live stream. It can be a stored video on the VMS that you scan, say, from a week ago. So, you know, Craig showed up and he's been coming here for the past week. So let's look at every camera feed we have and see where he's been for the past week.
Yeah, Scott, I would say, like, if you think about it, if you're using the Powered by NX product, like NX Witness VMS, then if you've got face recognition on the cameras at like kind of the key points, then all that metadata is being stored and is searchable. So when you go to search for a person and you want to look for the location that person has been in, and potentially you want to see, oh, I want to see when this face was recognized without a mask, right, during this time period, you should be able to pull up all the records from all the cameras that the face recognition is already running on. Of course, you can, like Craig said, you can do it post capture as well if you have a situation where you need to, where you didn't have the solution running ahead of time. So, any more questions? So for you guys, I mean, you have you seen what markets where do you see face recognition really driving kind of forward, especially with like COVID right now? I mean, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are like working from home, right?
Yeah.
Like me. So.
Of course. Now, we've seen, and if you specify COVID, so health measurement, we've seen deployments in retail and shopping malls. So there are shopping malls that use our technology in kiosks. So when people enter, work employees get in the morning measured. So yeah, they wear the mask, they don't have elevated body temperature. So wristband is printed for the day they wear it. So everywhere, customers, management, whoever else say, okay, this person is safe today. We've seen that there. We've seen that in just and organizations. For example, we have customers. They manage some of the infrastructure at airports. So
Right.
when employees walk in the morning, they go through the same kind of process. So this is an area. We also have a case, actually, this one, we're allowed to talk freely. One of the Marriott hotels that opened recently in Minneapolis, the Rand Tower, at the entrance, they have both for employees and customers, guests, kiosks that measure body temperature, mask. People have to answer a few questions about health by shaking or nodding their head, and our technology identifies if it's yes or no. Even have to dispense hand sanitizer with a sensor, and once they've done all that in like 10 seconds, then they have access. So these are some of the areas right now where these solutions for health are being deployed. If you go broader to security in general, I would say anything that has to do with access control in office environment where people still go, or warehouse manufacturing where people cannot work from home, obviously. These are some of the places where we are gaining traction and success for deployment of these security solutions.
There was I have two questions. One is what is the most unique use of your software that you've seen so far? Like, as in, like, you think, wow, that's something I never thought of, but I can't believe that those guys are doing this. I'll give you an example. We have a customer in Australia that does wildlife monitoring, and they go out and they put down like battery powered servers, and they basically capture motion, and they're also, I think, going down the AI path to where they can recognize specific animals and like what their behaviors are, and they use it for research. And I would have never expected someone to do that when we, rolled out our software to begin with, NX Witness. But it's something that they've done that makes perfect sense as soon as you think about it, right? But like, never thought about it. So just curious if you have an example.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to think about it, you can think about it for a second, Richard.
I don't know that maybe Craig, you know about some very like exotic use cases. Certainly, we have exotic types of customers. We have a very famous professional athlete whose security staff is testing our solution to secure this celebrity's properties everywhere. So you look at this, you say, well, it's one individual, one house, why would we care? But these people, when you look at where they live and the complexity, every single of the multiple homes they own are like protecting in office building facilities. So that's one that's pretty cool. One thing that's been done that I wouldn't say was unexpected, but early on is in the healthcare space. So medicine cabinets, we learned a lot very quickly, but these things are, nowadays they have controlled substances. Not anyone can go. People can go during certain periods of time and typically they would have keys or access cards or use biometrics. But if you do fingers, it's like you can spread germs. So even before COVID, we had to develop a solution. That's how very early we were able to use masks, still do face detection, where somebody shows with mask, their face is recognized, they're authorized to unlock the meds and use them. So that's a use case that initially we certainly didn't think of.
So like
So
medical
Craig, do you have other examples?
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
You
Because
know, I mean, all the ones that we get are, have to be money making. So we don't get too many crazy ones. We get a lot of crazy requests, but they don't go anywhere.
right,
Anything
right.
from finding my cheating boyfriend to, doctors want to keep track of their patients, which doesn't really make sense for those purposes, right?
Yeah,
But the real ones that come to our door are really making sense. Anything from bus wanting to be able to track people coming on and off of buses for transportation,
yeah.
security, like you said, two-factor, third-factor authentication. So those are really the ones that are moving forward. The crazy ones we we just kind of don't really get involved with.
There was a question that came in. Oh, sorry, Richard. You have something else you want to say real fast?
Yeah, sure. Another one that came to mind. That one is actually a cute one. Like most of our deployments are more like in the private facilities, private environments. So certainly in the US, there's controversy around public safety, things like that. But we have a deployment in Asia where the police, it's like in Taiwan, is using our solution. So every agent who's patrolling the streets, whatever, on their smartphone, they have the solution installed connected to the ID database there. And one of the nice use cases is around facilities, residences for senior people, senior living. A lot of these people, they will leave. Some of them, they have dementia, so they basically get lost. And it's in many cases, this tool is used actually to help identify these people and bring them back where they belong, whether it's their family or their living facility. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of use cases that have nothing to do with profiling criminals or anything like that. That they are
Right.
actually there to help people, and that's what we like to focus on.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I was thinking about the same thing when you started down that path. I was thinking about like lost kids or something that as well.
Yeah.
If like children at a mall type of thing, right? I mean, like, so a couple questions have come in. Um, uh, for database handling, what happens when you have multiple sites, or is this a single location solution? So how do you scale this across multiple sites?
So you got to sync the databases, right? So you have to have conflict handling. In most cases, it'd be done by having a unique ID. In this case, if it's in an office, it's that employee ID. That employee ID is unique. It matches with a unique face. The two are matched. So like when you enroll from your Active Directory from your employees, you already have their name, their job, and usually a photo of them. So that is their unique ID, is their employee ID, and you have that information to sync. So when that person shows up, you find this face, oh, that matches with this face. That's this employee ID, and now you got all this information
So you've
associated.
got LDAP and Active Directory integrated as well. Is
We
that
don't have it integrated. We have a way of importing into FaceMe
okay?
any CSV file. So you can export it from Active Directory because you have a bit of a security measure because usually you don't want them on the same server. So you'll usually export it from Active Directory to a CSV file and then import that into FaceMe Security.
So there's no way to programmatically though keep them all synchronized, or there is a way, but it's just a little bit of extra work.
Extra work, yeah.
Okay. So like okay. Um yeah. Okay.
For
So
instance, like you guys, NX has, I noticed you guys have LDAP on yours for syncing into your capability. So we could always get an API and tie into that. We're not doing
yeah,
that currently, but that's easily the next step.
but I don't think we pull the rich media information in. We probably just pull in the user information and passwords. Like but yeah, I could see like it wouldn't be that difficult to create a service, and I'm sure there are connector services out there already that you could do it with,
Right.
right? Where you wouldn't even need to do the CSV. You could figure out using the API how to use
Exactly.
this online connector to make sure that all these things are continually
And in most
synchronized.
cases, people already have a solution in place and they're just going to tie in through our HTTP notification or through your NX portal.
Right. Okay. I have a question. We mentioned it like kind of, but not really. I mean, what are you guys? Uh, there is concern, growing concern over privacy in the EU, the US, California, a lot of different markets, Australia. Um, how are you guys approaching that? Because I mean, face recognition in and of itself, I mean, it's nothing evil about it, right? With all cool new technologies, they can be abused or they can be used to do amazing stuff, right? It really depends on who the actor is doing it, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I can take that one. I mean, on different levels. First, we don't associate ourselves with use cases or customers whose purpose is to do anything that's unethical or track people without them knowing. We even have, if you go to our website, we added a human rights statement to our website once we launched FaceMe, because this is how much we care about it. But to be very practical, well, there's different takes. As they say, at the high level, we don't want to associate. If not, we're strong advocates of having in EU or in the US some strong legal framework that explains clearly what can be done and not done. We're all in favor of that. So yeah, when cameras are used in a place like a business, there should be a sign that says, yeah, there's live camera that use facial recognition, so people are notified. Before capturing anyone's face in a database, they should opt into that. So, for example, what we were showing earlier, like if you have a VIP, a visitor, an employee, they need to opt in. Like you obviously don't start gathering data. I've never used, like there were some of our competitors, even though they said they did that, they used faces that were stored for a certain purpose, and then they used it to feed the model to improve the model. Like we would never do that. So we're very, very strict about all of these things. But then beyond that, there's also things, the solution itself, because it's edge-based, because we don't send faces or video feeds to cloud and back, which has all sorts of security risks. We don't capture an actual face if it's not needed. Our template is made of highly encrypted files that only capture vectors, and it has a unique key. So unless you are the user, the authorized user of our solution, there's nothing you can do with these files. And
so if you were to gain like access to the machine itself and like and you got the hard drive, there's nothing you can do unless you were like an authorized user.
Exactly.
They would have to have the exact same SDK engine that you were using to be able to use those vector points with the exact same configuration.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they'd have to build a program around it to pull that data off of.
Right. It would be painful.
Yeah.
But I liked your point about like this is a solution that is not cloud-based. It is up to the integrator and the customer to a degree to make sure that the security around it is up to par, because you're providing a piece of technology, and the solution overall is going to be something fundamentally different, right? Whatever they're using it for, right?
Yeah, that's what it is, absolutely. And we strongly advocate that once somebody is identified, whether it's at a business, somebody who would be blacklisted, or somebody who has elevated body temperature, obviously we would expect that this is one indication. But if somebody shows up and the camera says, oh, this person might have a fever, we would expect that then there is a second test that's being done in a very humane, confidential way. Same thing when they say the police identify somebody. Well, we'd like to believe that they would use other measures to make sure that they actually have the right person.
Yeah, I think there's
these are all things that matter.
There's a statistic I read somewhere that like 1 in 23 million people look exactly the same almost. Like it's like, okay, so you've all got a couple doppelgangers out there, right?
Sure. And we have different models. That's something we didn't touch here, but depending on what you're trying to protect, we have models like for different levels of precision. So if all you run is a smart lock in your house, the probability that two people who look closely the same, one is authorized, the other one is not, that shows up at one individual's residence is very low. So that's why you can have a model that runs on lower power IoT device that all fits within the lock structure. Whereas if you try to protect Fort Knox, then you'll have our ultra high security model. So these are things we obviously take care of.
Do you have to enroll someone? You don't have to enroll someone's name in this either, right? You could just have unique faces. Is that like to
you can call it like visitor 114, so you don't know who they are. You just give them a generic name once you enroll that.
You can just give them a generic number.
Yeah.
Do you have a feature that allows you to like auto capture faces just to create distinct identities for like attribute tracking? Let's say I was using it for like retail analytics, and I just wanted to know what is the percentage of people interacting with this end cap that are, you know, male or female between these age groups.
Yeah, yeah. We can, in these cases, we don't even need to keep any data. We just aggregate the data. So we don't need to keep any individual records. And we do that, like for statistics and retail, as you said. And at that point, like, that's it. Like, we would still want to have a sign that says facial recognition is used. But again, if somebody doesn't give their express agreement to keep their face, their face should not be kept. End of story.
But we do have customers who do just want to identify face. Is there a face there? Is it male or female? What is their age? And they don't want to identify who they are, which means they don't have to do facial recognition, which means a lot less power, a lot faster results, right?
Okay.
So you're not really capturing anything.
So like, if you don't need to do identity, you just need to do attributes. You're going to require a lot less GPU. So you can do a lot more potentially channels on a single server, or you can use a lot more lightweight device to do it.
Right. And you're not creating any vector mask at all. So there's no mask to capture, right? All you're doing is male, female, age, gender. Yep.
Do you guys do emotion as well yet?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. No, this
That was
one,
one of my favorites.
yeah, and it does work. I would say in the when you accumulate data, it does work when you do like personalized, like digital signs or self-service kiosks. You can certainly guide the decisions based on that. So yeah, that's something that is working relatively well, especially when you aggregate data. Like one individual, and by the way, this is true in real life. Like somebody, even when they're upset, they look like they're smiling.
Yeah.
The famous British Prime Minister was like that at some point. Some people's the other way around to throw Craig under the bus, but Craig looks angry very often when he's not.
Yeah.
So
I have the same problem, Craig. Like it always tells me I'm angry. I'm like, I'm not angry right now. I don't know.
So yeah. So this we cannot. The computer cannot be smarter than the human brain, but certainly we get pretty close.
And we didn't show it, but we do have anti-spoofing in there too. So if someone tried to walk in with like a photo in front of their face, we can tell that it's a photo versus a person. And you can send out alert, hey, someone's walking in with a photo trying to think that they're Craig. Right. And maybe a camera from a different angle captures, oh, that's Susan trying to come in as Craig. You know, so you can do that kind of thing.
So there's a couple questions that came in from Takeshi-san in Japan. Takeshi, there's going to be contact information at the end of this webinar. So I think you should reach out to these guys for licensing information and quotations, the number of cameras on a solution. Jeff wanted to know, are you guys at home or is your background really cluttered because you're both using fake backgrounds?
I'm at home.
Actually, I'm at the office, but yeah, that's a virtual background. So, but I'm in the office today.
Yeah, for the retail solution situation, right? Jeff asked an interesting question, like, if you wanted to track the users, like you wanted to know who they are, you want to give them a distinct identity, but you don't want to know who they are, right? So you could tell return visits. So you could tell, like, I guess you call it recidivism. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to be careful because legally you're not supposed to do that unless they sign up or you have a sign that says we're tracking you and you're going to allow us to do that, and they have to sign off on it because normally they have to sign off once you start tracking them. So normally all you can do is capture, okay, there's 50 males that showed up and 50 females that showed up today, and I know their ages, but I can't tell if this person showed up more than once today. I can only tell that the total males and females and their ages and emotions. If I say, okay, visitor 113 showed up on Tuesday and he showed up on Wednesday, now you're tracking me, even though you don't know who I am. That's personal information.
But they do, it depends on the market too, because in the United States, for example, they do automatically associate like your credit card information with you so that they have a repeat shopper kind of behavior thing, right? So there's a gray area there, Jeff, but in general, like as people who do this integration, it's always better to be more conservative when you do this stuff because then you have less liability, right? I mean,
that's correct, and that goes back to what I was saying early on. Like we're strong supporter of having that legal framework. So today, if we would not willingly associate ourselves or knowingly associate ourselves with a practice like that, because we know, like, there's no, in some cases it's just not legal, and you just the council, the city council of New York just last week stated exactly that. Some other states, but some cases it just doesn't exist. Like, it's very different in a case where, like, I go and, let's say, my favorite coffee shop, which, by the way, like, take Starbucks, I think now it's like more than half their users use their app on the mobile phone, so they can be tracked like the same way, but using QR codes and things like that. Imagine with coffee shop like that, as a loyalty member, I agree to have my face taken. So the moment I walk in, things are streamlined, and to pay, I don't have to get my phone out and log in. I can automatically do that with my face. Then fine, as many times as I return, because I authorized it. But otherwise, there's no way that this should be done. If somebody, like, they should be captured in secret and say, oh, this person, the third time they come, and every time they spend 15 minutes in front of the cosmetic department, we cannot do that.
There's potential for
technology can, but we would not do that.
There's just a lot of potential for abuse there. If you know that someone's continually coming back, like you could see scenarios where there's purposeful, like, I know this person's coming in at this time, and therefore I'm going to do some nefarious thing, right? And then liability is, you guys set this up. How did you not know this was going to be a problem, right?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, there's two things. Obviously, we supply just the technology. And number two.
Sorry, Richard. I wasn't saying you guys. I meant the integrator and, like, the people who set up the system as a whole are going to be liable for that if it becomes an issue, right? Yeah. I mean, including the client that actually did it, because, assuming something terrible happens. So there was a question from Roma, which is pretty interesting. Is have your Cyberlink FaceMe been used for the cosmetics retail industry for virtual makeup applications?
Oh, actually, yes. I can talk about it. But just first, one last comment on the last one. One thing is, when we talk to retailers or anyone in the space, or VARs who serve retailers, the last thing a retail chain wants is to go in the press and have somebody says, like, they're spying on their customers. Like, that's the last thing. So if anything, they're more conservative than we are. Just to conclude on that one. Now, to answer about the cosmetics, we have a sister company, a technology called UCam Makeup. It was incubated inside Cyberlink, and 5 years ago, we spun it off in a subsidiary company called Perfect Corp. And that's what they do, is virtual makeup apps, solutions that consumers have on their phone. I think it's been deployed close to 1 billion times worldwide already. But also, you have versions that exist on tablets, put in fancy mirrors at cosmetic counters in retail stores, where people can virtually try, like a magic mirror, different products. And that you have the entire lines of cosmetics, color cosmetics, skincare products, even hair color. So this thing is very sophisticated. And the technology at the base, like the genesis of FaceMe and this was very close. So obviously these two went their own direction. But so to answer the question, absolutely, this is a very practical use case that has gained a lot of popularity.
Cool. Well, I mean, we are just about out of time. We got 1 minute left in case there's one more question. But did you want to throw up your contact information from the presentation, Richard, just so everybody sees it and it's on the recording after this?
Do that. I'll go back in the screen sharing.
And we will send an email to everybody who's attending with some with the follow-up information where you can find the recording in case you want to revisit this or find the contact information. And thank you guys for taking the time today to come and attend the Cyberlink FaceMe Works with the Next webinar. We really appreciate it. So
good. So yeah, if you want the contact, well, you have my personal contact information. Be happy to answer questions and follow up. I invite you to come to visit cyberlink.com/FaceMe. We have tons of information on our solutions, use cases. We have industry insights. So I invite you to read. We have the ultimate guide to facial recognition and use cases for it. These are mines of information that were created under the direct supervision of our founder and CEO, who's a famous professor in Taiwan. And if you want to contact us for product demo evaluation copy, just go to FaceMe_US at cyberlink.com. And our sales team will be more than happy to arrange a product demo and get you evaluation copies.
There you go, Vadim. He asked a question right at the end. Do you guys provide a trial? Yes, they do. So,
Yeah,
all right, Richard. I really appreciate your time. And Craig, good to see you again.
Thank you.
Look forward
Thank you
to
very much.
projects with you guys.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hi, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Goodbye.
day.